Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Fresh Out, the podcast, number one podcast to hear me, Johannanon.
It's me, Casualty CDG, and by this time next week, I will be playing Starfield, and we will talk about that. But it's not this time next week, it's this time this week, and then I'll pass the mic to this guy.
This guy's me. I'm the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse Drew Munhouse, and I don't know what Gary was just doing in the video, but you almost made me stumble over my words because you were doing some funny movements
because
there.
We only have one mic, and I had to pass you the one mic.
Oh, I see. Did you end up paying the $35, whatever, through Game Pass to get the early access to Starfield?
Okay, look. Short story, yes, okay? And I was not gonna do it because I put my foot on the ground and I said, this is bullcrap because only people who have expendable money can afford this. And then, as a total twist surprise and maybe a desperate act of anxiety and depression, I may or may not have been terminated from my job. Still trying to figure out the details of that. But I thought, what better way to pass this low point than to play this game a few days earlier? So I did spend the $30, even though it's expendable income, which I don't have. I just hope it makes me feel good. You know what I mean? I hope it makes me feel $30 good.
I actually just today dropped the $30 as well, or it's $35, but it's a little bit reduced with the Game Pass subscription. It's like 31 something plus tax, and I did it on a whim, even though I know I've got lots of plans this weekend. It's a holiday weekend, which if you don't have children or things to do, like, great, spend your $30 and you get the game all weekend for a long weekend. Sounds like a great thing. I have a lot of plans this weekend, and I don't even know how much I'm going to be able to play it for that advanced time, but I went ahead and did it. I justified it in my head by saying I'm supporting, a Microsoft and Xbox exclusive, that I'm getting through Game Pass anyway, so might as well spend, half of a normally priced game, of a full price game, to support it and maybe play it a little bit early. So
I like that both of us have used different ways to reason. You've reasoned yours as the game is free, I don't mind paying half price and supporting this, and my reasoning is just like, this should be $30 worth of mental health. This should be a good investment.
When do you get access with early access?
It's either Thursday night or Friday morning. It says the 31st, but it says like midnight or 11 p.m.
It's Thursday, our time, at 7 o'clock. So you'd get it Thursday evening at 7 o'clock.
Without the early access, when are you going to play it?
The 6th.
Wednesday.
Oh boy, like a whole week?
Yes, it'll be the 6th.
So what you're saying is that if I don't get it, you guys will have played it.
We will have played it for like.
We will, we'll both have probably put in. I'll probably have put in by that time, hopefully around the 10-hour range. Gary will probably have put in the dozens of hours range. Gary's saying 40 is his prediction.
I'm thinking 40.
It's not too late to buy this, is it?
No, you have until Thursday. And I'm not pressuring you to do so because I don't feel like it's a necessary thing. But there is a good chance, as you said,
I'm not going to sit here while you guys talk about Starfield.
Johan, share the good news.
I don't want to share the good news.
Okay, well, you don't share your good news.
Okay, fine. I got a raise, so I could probably...
You got a raise. Yeah. So congratulations. He might have a little bit of expendable income. Treat yourself, man. Get the little $30 starter.
And if I'm not supposed to say I got a raise, then I didn't get a raise.
Yeah, and if there's an NDA, then you didn't. Yeah, easy. If there's an NDA, I made it all up.
I'm sure your bosses and coworkers are all listening and going to come for you with pitchforks.
They do know about this, but
okay.
But they don't. As far as I know, they've only found my TikTok and haven't bothered to watch the streams, so that's okay.
They're not freshies or boxies.
No,
boxers.
Not yet.
We call them on the other side on Fresh Out the Box. We call them nasty old freaks. So I don't know what to call them on Fresh Out.
I like that.
Yeah, they're all nasty old freaks. So it's probably the same on Fresh Out the podcast. These are probably our listeners are nasty old freaks.
Okay, I'm gonna start to transition to the stuff that we're actually here to talk about because I actually could have rambled with y'all all day about that stuff, but we'll move on to Ahsoka, which was actually in a way the inspiration for our draft that we did last week of Star Wars characters, which I actually got really good feedback on. I don't know if you guys did as well, but there were some friends of ours that I know were actually doing their own drafts and following along with us and trying to pick different characters that we picked, like assuming ours were off the board, who would they pick?
That's fun.
Things like that. So yeah, we got some really good feedback from folks. I think that people had a lot of fun with this. I know I personally did. I left last episode actually feeling really good as one of the more fun episodes we've done in a while. I love those kinds of drafts. We need to do more of those in the future for sure, which I know you've always said, John.
Yeah, I really enjoy the drafts, and I noticed that a lot of podcasts and streamers do them, and people seem to like them, so it's very fun.
Yeah. So because we were doing that, we didn't actually get to talk much about Ahsoka. So I wanted to talk about it here, but I wanted to come out first with some news about it because actually just today, Disney released some streaming numbers for this, which is interesting because a big part of the current ongoing strikes between SAG-AFTRA and the Writers Guild, a lot of that has to do with the streamers withholding this kind of information and not sharing it, and residuals, and getting paid more based on if a show is a hit or not, so on and so forth. They said that Ahsoka's first episode, the premiere, had 14 million streams or views, however you would define it. Now, to go into that doesn't mean that 14 million viewers watched it or anything like that. The way that they calculate this, which I thought was interesting, is they take the total amount of minutes watched of the first episode of Ahsoka on their streaming service. So it could be people that watched one episode, it could be people that watched the first episode multiple times. But say they had, 700 million minutes watched of that first episode, and that first episode is 52 minutes long, you divide that 700 such million minutes by 52, and that's where you get a view. So simple division gets you your views. So they're saying 14 million views based on that runtime, or excuse me, minutes watched divided by runtime of the episode. This is still lower. They said this is on par with about who watched the first episode of Andor. It's about half as much as who watched the first episode of Obi-Wan, and this is about 30% less as who watched the first episode of Mandalorian season 3. So, just kind of worth noting, they're sharing those numbers a little bit. I'm interested to get y'all's takes on Ahsoka because I've gotten some varying feedback from different people depending on who you talk to.
First, so talking about numbers, I would say that this seems like a positive trend for them because it seems like they've continually lost a chunk or a percentage of viewers over time, but it doesn't seem like that happened this time. It seems like they finally hit their number of this is how many people are going to watch our Star Wars content, which in the state of things in streaming media, that's cool. I'm glad they're finally starting to figure out who their actual viewer base is and what numbers they can count on. That's good stuff.
And they need to win, right? Their box office landscape for their movies that have been released this year have mostly been disappointments. Like, it's hard to say Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 that made, upwards of $800 million worldwide is a disappointment, but in a way that it is. Not necessarily in the same way that The Little Mermaid and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania and some of those others are a lot bigger disappointments. So they needed a win, and I think that announcing this number for Ahsoka and that it was pretty well viewed, I guess, is a win. So
yeah.
But what did y'all think of Ahsoka?
I watched the first two. So far so good. I do enjoy it. The cast is pretty good. There's been a lot of action. There's been a lot of cool fight scenes. It's really giving people what they want. They've given people lightsaber battles and magic and space fights and all kinds of stuff. So far so good. I have notes though, so we'll get into that, I guess.
How about you, Gary?
Hmm. Ahem. Ahem. I hate the supporting characters.
Nice.
I hate that. I've only watched the first episode. I hate that commander that is part of her little retinue, the one that was Ahsoka's Padawan, I guess, at some point before this show happened.
Yeah.
Sabine?
Sabine. I hate Sabine. I hated her the first second I saw her, and she was supposed to be at a ceremony and was disrespecting everybody who wanted to congratulate her. And then I hated that she drifted the motorcycle, and then that the jet guy just nodded like, well, that was so cool, I won't do my job. I hated that. I hated that she's just so cool, people won't do their job because she's so cool. I hated her snarf abortion of a pet, that little chicken foot rascal monster thing. I hate it. I don't really like the droid on the ship. I think that he's annoying as shit. Right in the beginning, he's like, sorry, I wasn't here because my programming won't allow me to be so close. And then in the same episode, she's like, tell me about these lightsabers. And this dude tells her like a 45-minute story before getting to the point of whose lightsabers they are. Like his programming has integrated to just give you a bunch of filler bullshit instead of to actually answer your question. Yeah, I hate it. I hate it so much. But I like Ahsoka. I just hate everyone else and everything else. I thought the Sith were pretty cool. I'm about the Sith,
I like
and
the
then
Sith
I found
one.
out that guy. I found out that he passed away, and I was like, "Damn, that sucks."
It does suck.
Yeah, Ray Stevenson. He was a former Punisher actor from the good Punisher movie.
Punisher Warzone. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
No
That movie's
joke.
pretty
That's
dope.
who he is. Man, I didn't know that's who he was. That's awesome. And yeah,
Man.
I've got Warzone queued up on HBO Max.
that
I
movie's
think.
that movie's underrated, but like their Jigsaw in that movie was top-notch villainry. Like that was hardcore, dude.
The whole movie, Warzone, is just like a kill mansion. You just like walk in the front door shooting, and you shoot your way all the way to the top floor. The movie's a video game, and it's Punisher as
fun.
hell.
It was fun.
It is awesome. But not to talk too much about Warzone. I didn't realize that he was the Sith. He's awesome. He really, I think his haircut's a little fresh for a Sith. That kind of threw me. I was like, whoa, look at this dude. He got a fade. he's looking sharp for a Sith. But other than that, yeah, he's nice and intimidating, and he has that Sith presence, which, not everybody can just pull that.
I like
He
his
also,
approach,
I did not watch the second episode, and in fact, my hot takes got me invited to a chat called Gary is Wrong, where Blake and Zach just let me have it for about 45 minutes. About how I was wrong about every single thing that I said. I also asked him,
Interesting.
I asked Blake why the map that they're using looks like the Silver Snitch, and like they're
It
going to
does
go
look
to the
like
Quidditch World Cup.
the snitch. Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, he didn't like that. I was like,
You
you're just trying
can't-
to get to the Quidditch World Cup here?
So
What's the
as
point?
much as like I would disagree with you, like you can't be wrong about opinions. Like those are your opinions. What do they mean you're wrong? But
Well, you see, I have a certain kind of friendship with my friends where we could just tell each other that you're wrong, just flat out, just you're wrong. Well, your opinion here is wrong.
it's fair.
Well,
That's
here's
what I've
the
been
thing.
told.
I'm not defending your takes, but I'm also not supporting them. But I think that there's a weird circumstance with this show that does kind of have an impact on what you're saying here and with your relationship with these characters. Because I've been having like an existential conversation with myself about this show, because in a way I enjoyed the first two episodes. In another way, it's doing what I kind of feared this show would do, getting into it, in the sense of this show is basically season 5 of Star Wars Rebels, right? Like this is a live action season of Rebels that focuses on, has Ahsoka as the main character and some of the Rebels main characters as supporting leads. And I think that this is an interesting choice by Disney and what they're doing with Star Wars, because I think that the promos for Ahsoka were really good. I thought the trailers looked really good. And watching the show, I thought it looked good throughout. Like even the Jedi moves of like Ahsoka when she's jumping and things like that for a TV show, like the effects are really good. The lightsabers look good. The battles that they've had so far have looked good. So I think it's a very impressive looking show. It's obvious that they've invested a lot in this. I had seen some reviews prior to the first episode that said, I think this is specifically IGN of all places, but they were saying how the first 2 seasons of Ahsoka kind of act as a recap for Rebels to get you like on the same page of the show. And I don't really feel like, if that's how some people are analyzing it, I don't feel like they did a good job of that. I am somebody who has not watched all of Star Wars Rebels. I have dabbled in it. I have seen maybe 6 or 7 episodes of the first season, enough to kind of know who the characters are. And I've heard enough through cultural osmosis to kind of know where the series ended, that Ezra is, missing or out there, that they potentially are going to find him. I knew some of these things enough to feel comfortable going into Ahsoka. That being said, I've talked to people who have not watched any of Rebels, and they're like, I watched the first 2 episodes and I have no idea what's going on. And I think that's a consensus from some people that's maybe a little bit more basic.
I watched the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka, and I don't know what's going on. I'll agree with that. I mean, I don't feel like they did explain they showed the characters and were like, this one is the rebel girl who, is smart. And then this is
just so cool. She's just so cool.
She's pretty cool.
That's what she is. She's so cool.
She
was a Mandalorian, and that's cool. And she rides a motorcycle, and that's cool. And she's got a little pet, and that's cool. She's just so cool that when she drifts a motorcycle, a jet pilot just gives you a nod. Like she's so cool.
She's cool.
She's so cool.
She's very cool.
She's so cool that she stole a map from under Ahsoka's nose, and Ahsoka just let her do it. You know what I mean? She
didn't really steal it from under her nose. She just Ahsoka's like, hey, don't leave with this.
Don't take that.
And then she left.
Exactly. Did the exact opposite thing, and she took it because she's just so cool.
She is.
You see how cool she is? She's so cool. The whole show, all I can do is just roll my eyes and be like, boy, I just wish that was not the coolest character I've ever seen. Just so cool. She's so cool.
I feel like there's kind of 4 categories that you fit into watching this show, which is A, you're a hardcore Rebels fan. You watched every episode. You loved that show. You've watched the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka, and you absolutely love it because these are the characters you've seen in the cartoon show come to life, and like a big budget production set in that world, and you are all in. That's option 1. Option 2, the people who are reluctantly going to watch it, even though they haven't seen Rebels, because they want to stay in the conversation on Ahsoka, but they're mad that there's not that Disney Plus kind of missed an opportunity to have here's a 7-minute video recapping the events of Rebels, so you kind of know what's going on here, and then that way they feel up to speed, and they're going to be watching kind of knowing what's going on, kind of not, but just enjoying the way the show looks and feels and so on. That's category 2. Category 3 are the people who are just going to say, nope, don't know what's going on, not going to watch it. And then category 4, the people who are going to enjoy it anyway, and it's actually going to inspire them to go back and watch Star Wars Rebels or the Clone Wars and other shows and get caught up on it, which I'm actually kind of in that category. Like, watching these first 2 episodes has made me want to go back and watch Rebels to a degree. Have I gone back and watched any Rebels since watching these first 2 episodes? No. So that shows you how much I've prioritized it. But I do think it could encourage people to go revisit those shows. But it's just a very bold move on Disney's part to invest so much in a show that kind of requires you to have some knowledge of it to a degree to really get full enjoyment out of it. And it also is my fear of when Mandalorian started dipping into some of these things, I started feeling a little bit, I don't know, alienated by the show. But Mandalorian hasn't gone full into that. But, there's characters from the Clone Wars TV show and stuff that are now main characters in that show. And if you've seen those animated shows, you get a lot more out of it. But now you start to feel alienated as somebody who loves Star Wars and wants more Star Wars content. If everything's going to tie into these worlds of 8 seasons or 8 seasons of Clone Wars and 4 seasons of Rebels that I haven't watched and probably am not going to make time to watch, then all of a sudden you're making me not a Star Wars fan. And I just, I don't know. So that's why I said I was having like an existential crisis about
like
this
you're
show.
Taking shots at Dave Filoni here. I feel like you don't like Dave Filoni's Star Wars and you don't want to.
It's not that, because I do think that what he's created is really good from what I've seen. I just haven't invested in all of it, so I'm not familiar with all of it. So I know that those that are a fan of his product are loving this. But I do kind of feel like there's definitely a space for him to have his playground in the Star Wars universe and continue on with the characters he's created in live action and have that. But like right now, this is the only piece of Star Wars content we have, because there's not going to be another Star Wars movie until 2026 at the soonest.
Thank God, because we were going to get that horrible Patty Jenkins Rogue One movie that would have been unwatchable crap. So thank God there aren't more bad movies for us to hate. I'm glad there aren't bad movies for us to hate.
And like, you know, they made the Andor show, which by all accounts is really good, but just not nearly as many people watch that as watch The Mandalorian.
Have you not seen it?
Huh?
Have you seen it?
I've seen some of it.
Oh, okay.
I've also seen some of it.
I watched all of it.
Quit watching.
It's very good.
I watched 3 episodes, maybe 4, but I think probably 3.5, and I was just not really feeling it. It was okay. And I liked Boba Fett, and I liked Mandalorian, but I could see myself having the same treatment with Ahsoka, where maybe 3 or 4 episodes in, I'm just feeling okay about it and waiting to see what the end wrap-up is from you guys. I didn't watch any of the stuff you're talking about, Drew, any of the Rebels stuff, but as someone coming into the show completely blind, it was pretty easy for me to see that this guy is missing and this girl wants to find him. I mean, it's pretty basic plot. It's not too hard to keep up. They've got a map. They can't figure it out. They want to find this guy, and they need her help. Okay, cool.
It's not overly complicated.
There's some bad guys skirting around. It's Star Wars, you know. It's not too complex.
Yeah, they definitely want you to care about them though already, and like they haven't worked for it at all. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of it is kind of falling flat. Like I don't feel like I know any of these characters either. And like I'm happy for you if you're a fan of the animated shows and you saw them. But when you're putting a piece of media like this out and you want to have like mass appeal, you really do need to explain things better. I don't know anything about Thrawn. I don't care who that is yet. You know what I mean? Like maybe he's really cool. I know he's blue, but I don't really know much about it other than that.
You know about as much about Thrawn as I do. I'm with you. Like I know he's blue, and he's like, has kind of a what's his name from the original Star Wars? Like a Grand Moff Tarkin kind of like demeanor to him from what I've seen, in a way. He's like an intimidating businessman. That's like my view of Thrawn.
Yeah, he's like a blue dickhead.
Yeah, he's a stick up his ass like Navy admiral. That's what he is. And I don't know, man. I just don't know anything. They haven't hooked me yet. I like Ahsoka. I like her bits. I thought episode 2 is really cool. Some cool fights in that. Some cool background story in that. Interesting developments for sure. And I really do like the Sith. The Sith, the Master Apprentice combo there is really solid. And spoiler for second episode, you see a third one, and we don't know what that dude's deal is, but he looks cool, man. You'll like him, Gary. He looks like a medieval knight kind of.
Oh, yeah, he's cool looking. Yeah, and like I'm with you, Jahan. Like I overall have enjoyed it. It's not like I'm hating it by any means. Like I have enjoyed it, but I do feel just slightly alienated by it. Like here's a prime example. Like I know who Sabine is from what I've seen of Rebels, which is very little, but I know she was the Mandalorian and would sometimes wear the Mandalorian mask and all that kind of stuff. When in the first episode she's using a lightsaber and there's references to her having trained with Ahsoka, I texted our friend Blake, who Gary you mentioned I've now come to find out he's berated you about your opinion on the show.
But that's what I get for not liking his favorite thing. I knew what I was doing when I started taking hot takes at the show.
And Blake falls into that category of somebody who's watched all the animated stuff, and this show's like a dream come true for him. And he's not alone in that. There's a lot of people in the Star Wars community that's how they feel. But I messaged him after I watched it, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. I didn't know Sabine was force sensitive. So that's like a cool thing that I found out from watching this show. And then Blake's response was, well, not really. She just kind of started training with the lightsaber, but everybody technically could be force sensitive. It's just harder for some people, but like technically she can't use the force, but train with the lightsaber. And that's when I'm like, okay, I don't care. Like I'm out at that point. I saw her use a lightsaber. To me, that means she's got some Jedi abilities.
No, Drew, God. She's so
cool.
She's just so cool. She can use a lightsaber. You know what I mean? She's just so cool.
We're gonna get some angry messages from our friend Blake about this show.
Gary already did.
Like after this episode, once again, it's gonna reignite that conversation. And I will post an open invite. Probably when the show is over and we've seen it end, I might have him come on and just give his take for why this show is good, because that might be kind of like a fun corner to be like, here's the defense, or here's why.
I'll just watch him and Gary yell at each other. It'd be pretty fun. Man, I've heard a lot of the discourse like, she wasn't force sensitive with the show, blah blah blah, why is she Jedi now, stupid, and then like, oh, she got stabbed, it's fine, but Qui-Gon gets stabbed, he's dead. And then like, I actually had somebody at work go and watch episode 1 and be like, oh, he got out, because I was like, he probably got stabbed like center. She got stabbed off to the side. You could survive that. And then he watched it, and he's like, yeah, he got stabbed, like, right through the sternum. And it's like, yeah, that kills you. That's why, people are just having dumb issues with dumb little nitpicky things. But,
if she had died at the end of episode 1, and that, like,
yeah,
and that pushed Ahsoka, like infuriated her to make her, to power her journey or whatever, I would have been in on this show.
Yeah,
did
they kill the character you hate? Yeah.
Yes, because like you said, they haven't done a good job making us care yet, unless you care for Rebels already.
Yeah, that's why I can't even get upset with you about your opinion on this, because like, I don't know, maybe she does suck. I really don't know. I know nothing about this character.
They haven't really showed us yet. I mean, one of the things that's still ringing in my mind that I haven't gotten out yet is that she wasn't supposed to take the map. She took the map and then got attacked and then got the fucking map taken from her. And then got stabbed. So literally, worst case scenario.
That's fair.
Like,
that's fair.
She just is a disrespectful asshole who screws up everything. And I haven't watched episode 2. Yeah. Maybe episode 2, I'm going to be like, oh, she's so great. Look how sweet she is. I was so wrong. But in episode 1, she is straight up just detestable.
There's a little bit of a makeup in episode 2. It does work out. But hey, I get it. I like the character personally, but I don't know enough about her to defend her.
She did not come out strong in the live action version. That's my take.
Here's kind of where I'm at with this, and just to kind of vocalize what I'm saying. With all the Filoni stuff of Star Wars universe, there's a place for that, and I'm glad that it all exists, and I'm glad that it's all there. I guess I'm a little perturbed that right now it seems like that Filoniverse is becoming very central to the Star Wars content that we have. The Mandalorian, which started off as this standalone thing, it's not tied to anything, this is its own story. Great. But already they've tied that into having Luke Skywalker show up at the end of season 2. Ahsoka shows up in season 2. And then Bo-Katan becoming such a central character, and Rebels characters making cameos in it. It's like that Mandalorian is like being absorbed into the Filoniverse, which is fine. Ahsoka is now firmly within that, and there's no movies on the horizon, so like really right now the Filoni stuff is all we have. However, there are some upcoming series, Star Wars Skeleton Crew, The Acolyte. There's a Lando series that they're supposed to be making at some point. So like there are things coming that hopefully
Lando series going to have Donald Glover.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's gonna be great. Yep, I'm in on that.
Is it called The Landalorian?
It's no.
It should be.
Should be.
But yeah, apparently, like Donald Glover and his brother are going to be writing and developing it and everything. So he's like fully on as the creative side with that show. We'll have it full hands on. So yeah, it's just like there's some other things coming out, but like, why in this expansive universe where there could be so many things going on, can't we just have a show that establishes its own characters and its own narrative that doesn't have to tie into anything? And I know that Star Wars, there's a lot of nostalgia with the property, but it's just kind of creating this, like I said, like having an existential crisis about it. And I'm not, to be clear, I'm not pooping on the Filoni stuff because I understand it's very good quality, but it's just like that's all there is right now. And I'm at the point where I'm like, do I need to just finally do all my homework for this?
I think that your take is a little strange, and here's why. In Marvel, I want the things to be connected. I want them to have some purpose or some reason. If it's an offshoot story, that's fine, but maybe is connected to another one that's connected eventually. I like that Star Wars is using some of their lesser known, what I would call some of their deep lore that people sort of missed out on. I like that they're using that. And not necessarily because I like it, right? It is, I like it because they're using their universe. They are tying things together that I wish Marvel would reach out to these strange Howard the Duck kind of heroes and have them tie back into the story somehow, some way.
Star Wars just be background characters, yeah.
Yeah, Star Wars appears to be doing that and doing it, in a way that is productive to moving the storyline forward and also catching you up with the old stuff. I am not going to go back and watch the stuff. I don't care. I didn't care, and I don't suddenly care. I'm category 2 of the people you listed earlier. I am the kind of person who will watch it for the sole sake of staying up to date with it, and then maybe I'll stop at some point. But I just think that... I lost what I was saying.
No, but I'm with you. Like, you made a good point, because it is somewhat hypocritical to be like, with the Marvel stuff, that's how it has... That's been its bread and butter, right? It's the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's all interconnected.
Want it to be tied to some character or some story somehow. And we've always wanted to get away from the Skywalker saga, but at least these are tied to these side characters some way, somehow. That's exactly, and if Marvel was doing it, and you, Drew, you'd be like, I read these comics, this is awesome, I love this deep lore. Other people would be saying, do I really need to go back and do my homework and read these comics and do this deep lore? And the answer is no, you don't really need to do that. But if it's the thing that you love, the way you love comics, the way that Blake loves Star Wars, this is exactly what they want. This is exactly what should be delivered. This is awesome for them. And hopefully we get more like this out of the Marvel TV shows, where they are connected and bring us back to a central story. I like what's going on here.
See, I agree with that take from you for sure. And
I do. I do too.
I'm glad that, like I said earlier, I'm definitely happy for the fans that get to enjoy this that way. There's definitely a lot of homework, but I feel like, Drew, with you specifically, you're just such a completionist, it's probably what's irking you.
You're 100% right. It's like I feel like it's just going to feel incomplete for me.
My younger brother's the same way. He wants to watch all the stuff when he likes something. But yeah, I don't know. I'm happy they're using the deeper characters. They haven't done the shows that I want for Star Wars yet. I really want them to get more into like that crazy, like the Dark Force demon lore and stuff like that. Like, they never explain any of that stuff. That's what I want to see. But
I don't remember who I was talking to. It could have been Jahan. It could have been my brother Thomas. It might have even been Drew. But my point was that when comic books first started, they were very golden age heroes like Superman, and it took a while to get to the dark heroes like Batman and Punisher, and to get to the Dark Knights. And that's what I want to see out of Star Wars now. We have a bunch of adult fans. Make some Dark Knights type of stuff. Make some adult version Star Wars stuff. It's still cool that Dave Filoni's doing his Filoni thing. But I think there is a market for R-rated Star Wars content, or TVM rated Star Wars content. With as big as Game of Thrones is, everybody learned Game of Thrones lore overnight. People already know Star Wars lore. You could make an R-rated version and people would eat it up, I think.
I definitely want a mature Star Wars for sure. Ahsoka, that's another thing. Ahsoka does seem like it's on the kiddier side, like on the friendlier side. so far. I could use a little bit more darkness. See, that's why I enjoyed Andor so much. That show is pretty adult. They deal with a lot of adult themes and problems, and it gets pretty grim. But I would like to see that, but with Jedis. We don't the darkest thing that they ever did. Well, I mean, Anakin did kill all those kids, so like that's a thing. But I feel like then he goes back to like this movie for kids, and it's like, but he just murdered children. What are we doing here? But
I think characters like Boba Fett and like The Mandalorian those are your chances to tell your M-rated stories, right?
Yeah.
Those are bounty hunters, and we don't see them doing a lot of bounty hunting. One of them is doing a city building game, and the other one is planet saving. And they're not cold-blooded bounty hunters, and we're not watching them hunt bounties.
Yeah, you want to see 610 Yuma.
Yeah, I want to see them doing things that are like really on the edge of like, ooh, am I watching a good guy? Because bounty hunters aren't, by nature good guys. And Boba Fett certainly, I don't think was intended to be a good guy. I guess this is the old version of him, but again, TVM content, I'm here for it, I'm ready for it, and I feel like the characters that should be starring in that are being used in some PG content.
Man,
right
they
now.
were close. That episode of The Mandalorian where they're doing the prison break with Bill Burr. That was pretty gritty, man. And then the other one with Bill Burr was also pretty dark. Like they've touched it. They've gotten close to it, but they pull away. They're like afraid. I don't know. They're afraid they might like it. I don't know.
All right. I think is everyone?
We've thoroughly Ahsoka, I think.
And we're just 2 episodes in. The 3rd episode comes out today, so we'll have more takes on it going forward. Our opinions could change, shift, mold. We'll see.
I'll say this at the end of the day. Gary, I know you probably would not. I would certify it fresh based off the first 2 episodes.
Me too, so far. Yeah.
Despite all all my kind of ups and downs and assessing it, I still would say it's fresh. I just think it offers a very interesting conversation into Star Wars TV and where we're at with it. That's why I wanted to dive in.
I've only seen the first episode, so not based on the first 2. Based on the first 1, I think Star Wars fans will probably like it. I don't think that non-Star Wars fans will like it.
I think you'll enjoy the second episode more. Personally.
Probably. But I think the first episode is pretty grating. I would say it's probably not. If that was the only thing, was the first episode, if it was a short film, I'd be like, this kind of sucked. That character. I'm glad she got stabbed.
Cool. And John, you said you're saying it's fresh.
Yeah, I certify fresh. I like it a lot. I like where it's going. I like some of the twists, and they're talking about certain topics, like the former Imperials, like stuff like that. That I'm always like, where did they go? Like, what's going on? Like it doesn't just get fixed, and then they're starting to deal with those themes, and I like that. So
cool. All right, well that is Ahsoka episodes 1 and 2. As of recording this on Tuesday evening, episode 3 has just become available, so we might talk about it a little bit next week. Dabble it in our fresh picks, but for now it's time to move into this week's fresh picks of the week. And I'll kick it off with a movie just because The Equalizer 3 comes out this upcoming weekend. I haven't seen the first 2 Equalizer movies. I don't know if y'all have.
What is that? It sounds like an action series.
It's Denzel Washington, but he is John Wick.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. He's like a former agency guy of some sort who's now living a quiet life off the grid, but when he sees people being mistreated or sees, a lack of justice in the world, he takes matters into his own hands, and he's the Equalizer. He's never actually referred to as like the Equalizer, like a superhero name, but he's kind of like a Batman, but without being a superhero with gadgets and stuff. But he just takes justice into his own hands.
I've seen at least the first one. I might have seen the second one. These are movies that my dad likes a lot. So
100%. My dad has texted me this week. He's like, "Are you going to see The Equalizer 3 this weekend?" So you're exactly right.
It's dad spy stuff. That's what it is.
I thought The Equalizer was a sequel to Good Will Hunting this entire time.
No,
Nope.
it's not. And it kind of came out in that time where I feel like Denzel was doing a lot of these kind of forgettable action movies. Like he did Safe House, and then he did Two Guns, and then The Equalizer. And it was when I was kind of like, I'm out on these. Like I'm not interested, so I never saw this one.
I really want them to make a sequel to Two Guns and call it Two Guns 2, 3 Guns. That's what I want. I need that.
2 Guns 2 colon 3 Guns.
Yeah, colon 3
Ooh,
Guns.
yeah. I'm in for that.
2 Guns 2, 4 Guns would also be great.
It would also.
I like that. I like that. Or 2 Guns colon 3 Guns number 4 U, 3 Guns for you.
Oh no!
Oh yeah, yeah. No, so anyways, yeah. I missed it at the time. Now there's a third one coming out. I'm like, you know what? I'll go back and watch the first one, and it's fine. I like Denzel. He's obviously a super charismatic actor. One of our most famous movie stars out there, and he's great in it, like he always is. And good for him for getting an action franchise that's getting a third entry, and he's getting those paydays. But I'd say it's fine. This movie's almost 10 years old at this point. It came out in 2014, so I'm not gonna do a deep dive into it as if people haven't. Don't know, but I'd say it's pretty solid. It does kind of anytime there's an action scene, it goes into slow motion as he assesses the room and everything that's available to him and how he can take out these bad guys, and then he'll do a slow counting in his head.
Yeah, he does the Sherlock Holmes analysis kind of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, but when he does it, it's called equalizing.
When he does it, he uses a stopwatch to time himself.
He does, and he'll count sometimes and compare. He'll go 1 1,000, 2 1,000 as he's doing things, and so he's
equalizing in real time. You're watching him equalize. That's crazy.
This movie has actually gotten a TV spinoff. I believe there's a TV show just called The Equalizer that's on. I'm not even sure what network. I believe stars Queen Latifah.
The more you say it, the dumber and dumber the title is.
Wait until. Well, the TV show is not called The Equalizer. It's called Dividends.
That's a solid joke. I'm gonna give you that one. Yeah, no. Apparently they're on the 3rd season, or there's been 3 seasons of the Equalizer TV show. It is on CBS, and it does indeed star Queen Latifah. So that's on network TV. So there you go. The 3rd season is currently, or I guess, ended in May. So there's not a 4th season currently airing.
I think we should move on, but I could definitely sit here and pull this apart for another hour.
I really just once Gary started reacting so well to this is the only reason I've talked about it for literally 3 times as long as I had initially intended to.
Look, man, I don't have a problem with Denzel Washington, and I get that there's a whole genre of action movies for dads. That's good. You guys can keep those. But that's a stupid name, and there shouldn't be a Queen Latifah spinoff show. That sounds like the worst possible fate for anything anyone could create.
I've also always wondered, why they chose that name. It's a really stupid name, but hey, it is what it is.
Well, so that's the Equalizer.
Better than the Stopwatcher. That's why they picked Equalizer. Stopwatcher sounded real stupid.
I do have a couple other movies I can throw out here really quick. I'll move through fast. One is called Heart of Stone. This is a movie that's on Netflix. Stars Gal Gadot and Jamie Dornan, and this absolutely falls right in the camp. It sits well alongside, I believe, Red Notice is the name of the movie with Ryan Reynolds and Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and Gal Gadot's in that as well.
Performances.
and The Gray Man, the Ryan Gosling action movie that was also on Netflix. In the sense
that movie is a lot better than Red Notice. Red Notice sucked.
Red Notice was one of the most phoned-in acting performances I've ever seen. It was so hard to watch. All of those people seemed so fake.
And by comparison, Heart of Stone makes The Gray Man seem like a masterpiece and makes Red Notice seem at least fun by comparison. That's how much I didn't enjoy Heart of Stone. Heart of Stone is 122 minutes long, right? So 2 hours and 2 minutes. Felt like about 4 hours. And it is an action film, and I don't know if I've ever seen an action film be this boring before.
Damn.
And I've seen a lot of things where I like Gal Gadot, and I think as Wonder Woman, she's got a lot of charisma, and in this, like, none of that charisma is translating to the screen. There's just a lot of nonsense agents. You know, it's one of those things where she's an agent that's part of this like
a Mission Impossible kind of plot.
Yeah, she's part of a fictional agency. I think called. I'm trying to find what they're called. They're all named after cards. It's really quite silly. Because she's got a code name. She's Nine of Hearts.
Are they called?
But yeah, like they're all named after cards. Like she's part of this agency, and she's been embedded in MI6, and so she's helping them. And all the people in MI6 just think she's their like hacker who doesn't do any kind of action, but secretly she's like a super spy who does all the action. And there's a bunch of really forgettable action scenes. There's one at the beginning where she's like parachuting down a mountain, like a race against time that's like okay, but some questionable CG, and then from there it's just like it's all downhill from there. Yeah, this is like
don't spoil Heart of Stone for everybody. This sounds like a thrill ride.
Oh my god!
Would you say it's fresh?
No, this might shock you, but no, I can't say it is.
Fresh out the toilet.
I mean, I didn't go into this expecting it to be great by any means, but I thought it was at least going to be a watchable action movie, even if I was disappointed by it. And it was somehow much worse than my expectations were set. So I can't, with good faith, recommend Heart of Stone to anybody who likes movies. So don't watch Heart of Stone on Netflix. It's not very good. On a totally different wavelength, I watched 1984's The Toxic Avenger. Have either of you seen this movie?
No. I saw it maybe last time I saw it, and the only time I saw it at maybe 5th or 6th grade. So you're talking about like a 10 or 11-year-old. I've lived a lot of lives.
I've maybe seen some of it, but I don't think I've seen it all the way through.
I certainly don't remember the whole thing.
Yeah, this is the creation of Lloyd Kaufman, who had Trauma Entertainment. They specialized in just like cheesy B movies, gore, splatter fests, gross out type stuff. Great stuff. Great. I love that kind of stuff, to be honest. I actually watched this one because I'm going to Fantastic Fest again this year. It's later in September. And one of the movies they announced will be premiering there is they've made a new version of The Toxic Avenger that stars Peter Dinklage and has a bunch of people in the cast. And that movie is going to be premiering at Fantastic Fest, the remake.
Dinklage, dude. Love him, love him, love him.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, well, I guess it's time for me to visit the original. It's 82 minutes long, so it's easy to get through. I think it was streaming on Peacock is where I watched it. And it is just about as silly and cheesy as you would expect of an early 80s B-movie horror. You can't even call it horror. It's just more of a comedy. This city is known for all of its toxic chemicals and radiation that have been dumped there, and as a prank, this guy is like dumped into toxic waste, and he becomes the Toxic Avenger. He's all mutated, and he carries a mop because he was a former janitor at like a gym club, and so he serves justice similar to the Equalizer, but in a much more gross fashion, and he shoves his mop in people's faces typically afterwards. That's like his trademark thing. And there's definitely a lot of things that have aged poorly in this. Like there's some homophobia and things like that. Like just the jokes that unfortunately, it was commonplace in the early 80s and especially in these kind of low budget movies. But that being said, if you're able to overlook those kinds of things, there's some cheesy fun to be had with this character. There's two, I think there's two sequels to this. I think there's two and three, Toxic Avenger, which I have not watched yet. I don't think they're as well regarded as this one. But yeah, the Toxic Avenger is a total cult classic at this point, and it is super cheesy fun. And I'm looking forward to seeing the new film with Peter Dinklage coming out later this year.
I had, and it was probably Thomas's, that was a hand-me-down pass to me, but I had a Toxic Avenger toy growing up. Just him. He was the only one I had, and I'm looking at it on Google now, and that, sure enough, that is him. And he came with his orange mop, and yep, that's the fella right there with his orange torn tank top. Yeah, that's my toy.
And actually, oh, I see it. I just looked it up too. It's a super cheesy action figure. That's wonderful. Part of the fun too is, you know, the guy who gets turned into Toxic Avenger. He's had a prank played on him, and he was wearing like a blue polka dotted outfit with a tutu, or maybe it was pink and blue. I can't remember now. But it's a polka dotted outfit with a tutu when he's dumped in. So the outfit is like burned to his skin.
I remember that toy. I feel like one of my friends had that toy. I thought it was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle toy the whole time.
I did too. I'm sitting here looking at it, and I was like, as a kid, I thought that was just some random cartoon villain, but that was the damn Toxic Avenger. Yeah, and the other toys that he came out with, I was looking at those series, and I was like, dude, I don't recognize any of those. They also sort of look like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle ripoff characters. But the only one we had was that Toxic Avenger with his orange bandana and his one good eye.
It looks familiar, man.
I'll be interested to see what they do with the remake. There's really only been one image released, and it's just kind of like a silhouette outline of the Toxic Avenger. So there's not been a trailer. There hasn't been anything. So I have no idea what to expect with this. But yeah, I watched the original. And then the only other thing on my list I have right now is Blue Beetle, which we can all talk about at the end, because I know we mentioned it for a little bit last week, and I think we mostly did certify it fresh, but we'll do a little bit more spoiler dive at the end of this just to talk about it in a little more detail, since it was kind of just a like an end point to our Star Wars draft.
Let's see. I have some movies then. You talk about Toxic Avenger. What do I think pairs well with that? Maybe Werewolves Within. Maybe Werewolves and Toxic Avenger go together. There were some practical effects for the werewolf in this movie. It wasn't CG, so we'll slide over with practical effects. I liked Werewolves Within.
It wasn't bad.
Yeah. You saw it, Jahan?
Oh, yeah, I saw it.
I feel like this was very early, fresh out the podcast. I think Jahan had seen it first, then I talked about it like a week or two later after he had watched it. So,
it's finally streaming somewhere. So now people who didn't see it when it came out, I think it came out in late 21, not 22. So it's a couple years old now, so I don't mind talking about it too. I thought it was could have been a really good play if it wasn't already a play. The whole thing was sort of a whodunit, and most of it took place in one inn. In the beginning, they walk around to a few locations and meet other characters, but you don't need anything besides like a broken down truck as a prop, or like a table or whatever to meet some characters. But the whole thing I thought could have been a nice play. I don't know if it had a basis in it being a play, but it was okay. It was totally fine. I feel like a lot of werewolf movies are either terrible or good, and this one was fine. It's a whodunit, and the whodunit is a werewolf, but you would expect that with a name like Werewolves Within. I thought the title was pretty clever because of the writing. Really the werewolves were the people.
It's based on the board game.
Yeah, it's based on a game, and they even made I think Ubisoft made a video game of it that was like a VR game where you were trying to guess who the werewolf is in your group.
Is it the one, Jahan, that people like play at cons where you like draw the cards and like somebody's a werewolf?
Yeah, it's like Secret Hitler except werewolves.
With werewolf. Yeah, I've played it before.
It's a hidden role game, yeah.
It's a great game to play with strangers because anybody can just grab a card and figure out what role you are. And it's kind of like Heads Up 7-Up used to play at school, where like everyone keeps their heads down and the werewolf slashes somebody, and then it's that kind of game, kind of a fun party game. Okay, I know that game. Yeah, I suppose that Werewolves Within is watchable. I would say that it is not bad. So I'll certify it fresh. I went on to Google today, and if I had to choose between a thumbs up and a thumbs down, I gave it a thumbs up. I thought it was, I thought it was fresh. Maybe
Werewolf movies can go so bad. This movie was pretty solid.
I agree.
I really like the guy from What We Do in the Shadows is in there. He's really funny.
He's also in. Is it the same guy that's in Blue Beetle?
He's also in Blue Beetle. Yeah.
That's
funny. I didn't even recognize him.
Yeah, he's the scientist guy in
The
Blue Beetle.
scientist guy.
In Blue Beetle, yeah. He's not in it very much.
Guillermo.
Yeah, Guillermo.
Yes.
Guillermo is in Werewolves Within and in Blue Beetle.
Yes, he is. That's right. He plays one of the couple. He's yeah, he's very funny in that, actually.
He's very funny.
Okay, so I watched Werewolves Within. We're getting close to horror season. You could watch it. It's not going to scare you. It's not going to give you nightmares. It's something you could watch leading into Halloween. That's totally fine. And
It's
not
a
going to trigger
great
you, I don't
Halloween
think.
movie that you could watch with your kids.
Yeah, it's got some violence and it probably has some language, but it's not like nudity and graphic and disgusting and terrifying. Speaking of, we will go to the next one. I accidentally watched another horror movie today. Bodies. I thought it was going to be a comedy. It says comedy. I watched it, and it's just a horror movie all the way up until the last minute or two.
It's kind of funny throughout. It's for sure a horror comedy, where sometimes the horror moments are what's funny in it.
I don't know, man. I would say that it's pretty much. I mean, I did laugh at one other part, but only one, because mostly it's a pretty tense movie.
Yeah,
it's It's a pretty tense whodunit. It's starring Pete Davidson and a bunch of people you've never heard of.
That's not true.
Okay, Drew, name all those people.
Well, one's the girl from Borat that plays Borat's daughter in the second
Okay.
Borat movie.
You mean the child that Rudy Giuliani tried to molest?
That is correct. She's the lead. She's the lead of the movie. This is
All
going
right,
to be
so
bad
there's
because
the-
I'm only going to be making Gary's point because
that guy. Exactly.
because
The
I
first
don't
person
know
you
all
named
their
is
names.
that guy.
So she's in it. Amanda Stenberg is in it.
Who?
Amanda Stenberg.
Is that Adam? Is that Andy Samberg?
No, she's in stuff like The Hate You Give, and she's in the
She's in
Dear
what?
Evan
You're really
Hansen
not
movie.
helping your point.
Okay,
So she's in
back
it.
to my point.
And
It's got
wait,
Pete Davidson.
Lee Pace is in it, which Lee Pace rules. He's Ronan the Accuser, and he's in the show Foundation on Apple TV Plus, and he's been
that
in Lord
guy.
of the Rings movies. Yeah, he's in it. And
He's
the
a bad
main
guy.
shout out is Rachel Sennott is in it, and she's become one of my recent favorites. She's in a really great movie actually called Shiva Baby, but she's got a supporting role in it's that show that I watched that was really bad, but she's really good in it. The recent one with The
Yellow
Weeknd
Jacket.
and Lily Rose Depp. That one, the Idol. That show's the Max show with The Weeknd and Lily Rose Depp. It's really not good. Don't watch it. It's a bad show. But
Can
Rachel
I go back
Sennott
to
is
talking
in
about
it.
how nobody knows who's in this movie?
And Rachel
Nobody
Sennott has a new
knows.
sex comedy that's out in theaters right now called Bottoms that seems really good. So she's awesome. But she's the memorable one, Gary, that has a podcast, and she's the funniest one in it, and she's probably one of the biggest standouts in Bodies.
She's the one who had all the glowing stuff on.
Yes, and I think that Lee Pace is her boyfriend in it.
Yeah, the big ripped guy who is
Yes.
obviously not Pete Davidson because there's only like two guys in the movie.
There are only two guys in the movie.
Okay, back to my point. There's nobody you've ever heard of in this except for Pete Davidson. And it is like this group of rich, snobby friends who they like party and they do coke and they drink and they're all from really wealthy families and they're all kind of assholes and you wouldn't really mind seeing any of them get slashed. And so that's the kind of setup for the slasher. They're at this house party, there's a huge hurricane, the power goes out, and they're playing a game called Bodies, which is kind of like I don't know if you've ever
Sardines.
played. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if you've ever played Sardines, where everybody hides. But yeah, if you tap somebody on the back, they're dead, and then everybody does who done it? But then of course real killings start happening, and you're trying to figure out who done it. And the reveal at the
No
end,
spoilers.
I'm not going to, but the reveal at the end, I think, is worth the movie.
Oh, good.
I agree. 100% agree.
I had to sit there for like 20 minutes and be like, did I just watch that? Like, did I just watch that? And I was like, yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. And that was pretty fucking, that was something.
So it was good?
Yes.
Okay.
I think you are going to love it. And I can't wait for you to watch it so that we can talk about the ending, because
I've been
it's
wanting
something.
to watch it.
The reveal, it's pretty good.
I'll put it on my fast track list.
I
The
recommend
reveal,
Bodies.
it's effective. I'll put it that way.
I think, if nothing else, it is memorable. So if you like whodunits and you like horror movies, yeah, if you like those things, you'll like this movie. That's what it is. And it has a memorable ending.
And this is also a great movie to make you feel old, because it's 100% like Gen Z humor and social media stuff. There's a lot of stuff that I was like, oh boy, I'm old.
It's so funny you said that. Annie felt the same way. She was like, ugh, that was Gen Z humor. And then she looked it up and was like, sure enough, it was Gen Z humor. And I was like, I thought it was really funny.
It all still worked for me, but it definitely made me feel like I could not hang with these kids.
I thought it was super, super funny. And then I watched one more movie that was also super, super funny. I watched The Whale today.
Sorry, I knew what you were going to say, what movie you were about to say, so that was a good intro.
Absolutely great time. What a funny, good, lighthearted, great time that was. What a good, fun movie The Whale is. And if you guys are looking for something fun and lighthearted to watch, this is the one. This one will fill you with joy from the bottom up.
You picked some weird movies for your depression there, buddy.
Man, I don't know, dude. I just woke up today and started watching movies, and this is what happened. This is how my day started. It actually started with The Whale, and then I thought that I was going to watch Bodies, and it was going to be lighthearted and funny and make me feel better, but it really doesn't. It's really not that lighthearted and fun and funny. I mean, it's a dark comedy for sure, but like, having watched The Whale first and then Bodies, yeah, it was not like the most fun morning. The Whale, though, great performances. I mean, like, it's exact. You know what it is, right? I knew what it was, and I never would have put it on TV if Annie wouldn't have put it on. But like, because I know it's going to be a great performance, and I know it's going to be sad and depressing, and it was those things. It was a great performance, and like, I missed like maybe the first 20 minutes, but it's not hard to keep up after that and to figure out what's going on. Boy, it's just like, ooh, man, there's no comedic relief. There's no humor. There's not like a funny guy next door who like walks in and like plays pranks or anything. It's just heavy, man. It doesn't stop being heavy until it's over, and then you're like, ugh, thank God that's over. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, it was definitely very good. And I, again, on Google, do I thumbs up it or do I thumbs down it? I thumbs up The Whale. The Whale is fresh, but it's just not a good time. There's nothing about it that is fun or happy at all. Brendan Fraser's character is the happy, good, fun guy, and he's just so defeated, and his life is just so down that his optimism is just not enough of a light at any point. And to talk about Werewolves Within, I thought it would be a great play. He said it's based on a game. The Whale, I was like, this would be a great play. And of course, the second thing that comes up in the screenplay is like, directed by Darren Aronofsky, based on the play by. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, it was a play. But the one location, the apartment being the one location, really lends to it feeling like a play. And the performances are great if you just want to be sad.
Yeah, I when you texted that you had watched these 3 movies, and I said, I loved one of them, I didn't love one of them, and one of them I've just kind of forgotten. Obviously, Werewolves Within is the one I had forgotten.
Yep.
Bodies is the one that I loved, and The Whale's the one that I liked and didn't love.
Really? That's not what I was going to expect. I thought you were going to say you loved The Whale and you liked Bodies.
I liked The Whale a lot, but it's just, I think it's kind of limited by exactly what it is. It's like you said, it's a great performance, and it's a one location film based on a play, and I think it does what it does well. Like it does what it sets out to do. It's not a rewatchable for me for sure. Like, I don't know if I'll ever watch that one again. Whereas Bodies, I could see myself revisiting in the future. I loved Bodies. I liked it a whole lot. Yeah. So yeah, that was what I was referring to.
Speaking of fucked up, depressing monster stuff, I've been watching From. That's my segue. It's also dark. It's dark in a different way. It's
From what?
From
who?
Just From.
From you?
I believe it's from the creator of Lost.
Yeah.
And so
explains
essentially,
the
this
title.
is season 2.
You have talked about this show before because I think we made these same kind of
Yeah.
jokes when you watched the first season.
Yeah, that's why
I
I
just
just
remember.
off.
Yeah, I remember you talking about it because I know it stars that one guy from Lost, Harold Perrineau, who's in
Yeah.
Lost. Isn't he the lead of this?
Correct.
Is
Yeah.
he the cool one from Lost?
He's the one that gets off the island in the first season. Spoiler, I guess.
Is he Sawyer? Sawyer's
No.
the cool one.
Or doesn't he get off the island? I think he gets off the island.
Sawyer's the cool one. That's all I was asking.
He's the one
if he
that's
was
also
Sawyer.
in The Matrix.
He's the one that's got a son in Lost.
I don't know what's happening anymore. I was just asking if it was Sawyer.
He's not Sawyer.
It's not Sawyer.
I can't
Oh,
think of
man.
his name in Lost.
But yeah, so this is season 2.
Can we talk about Lost some more?
I've never
Was
seen
it the black
Lost.
dude?
It was
Yeah.
Was it why didn't you guys just say it was the black dude from Lost? There's only
Yeah, I
like
guess we
one.
kind of buried the lead there.
He
Yeah,
has
he's
other
the
stuff.
shit.
Going. He has other stuff going on.
I'm sitting here like, well, it's not the crippled doctor guy, and it's not Sawyer, and it's not the Asian dude. So is it the black dude? Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
it's
got
Michael.
the son.
He's
Yeah.
Michael from Lost, and he has a
Okay.
son named Walt. And I was able to remember
Jeez.
the son's name. I couldn't remember his name. I had to look him up.
But yeah. So this is from it's season 2. Season 1 episode ended with like a bus rolling into this town. So the long story short, everyone gets to this town by driving, and then they find out they can't leave. They all come to the end of a road that's blocked by like a log, and then no matter what they do, they keep winding up back into town. And at night, these people come out of the woods that look like normal people, and if they catch you, they do horrible things to you, like top tier horror stuff. Like they just rip out all your guts. They don't leave pretty bodies. It's all pretty messed up. And they're all very creepy. They're very creepy. They just smile and like walk slowly. They don't really chase you. It's a horror show.
Is the town an island, and they got there by an airplane?
The
that crashed?
town. So yes, this is like. So my mom was really upset by Lost and like how it ended and stuff, like many people were. And so like we're watching this, and she's like, "Oh my god, this is just Lost again." I'm like, "I hope not. I'm not making any promises. I don't know how this ends." But yeah, so it's pretty much a mixture of like Lost meets like The Strain or something. I don't know. It's got like a lot of horror and monsters and stuff that the Lost didn't have. It seems to be
What's
dealing with some
streaming?
sort of occult stuff. Something's not quite right.
Does it come on a streaming network, or do you watch it? At
This is from MGM.
The poster
so
said
maybe-
MGM Plus, but isn't MGM owned by Amazon now?
So that's probably one of those things that you can get on like what's it called, Sling TV, I would guess.
Yeah, you could probably get it a few places, but it's just called From. So far, I enjoy it. It's interesting. It's keeping me interested. I think all season 2's out, so go check it out. I don't know. It's a cool one of those mystery shows. You don't know what's going on. You get little bits and pieces. Weird stuff keeps happening. You never know what the rules are. It's fun.
Is the smoke monster pretty scary in it?
No smoke monster as of yet, but there are similar things going on. So
Do they find a hatch in the
they
town?
do find a hatch. There is a hatch. There's been a few hatches where they're like, "Hey, where does this go?" There's some trees that have stuff going on.
Is the main action of the show intercut with flashbacks to their life from before they were on the not island town?
No, they do not cut back to really. They've done a couple of cutbacks, but usually it's to how they got here. You know what I mean? Like the car trip before they got stuck. But they really don't do much of that at all. Almost none. So
Okay.
it is different, and so far, I don't know. I enjoy it. I couldn't get on board with Lost,
internet-
but so far I've liked this.
The internet tells me that you can watch From on Amazon, and that you can buy it from a lot of other places like Apple TV and other options like that. But if you're actually trying to watch it, it's going to be one of those Amazon shows.
MGM Plus is formerly Epix. Okay, that makes sense.
It has some nominees for some awards. It's won a couple.
It sounds
things.
like a pretty cool show. That's why I was asking. I was just asking where to watch it, but I don't have an Amazon account right now. I'm waiting for something. What am I waiting for? And then I'll get Amazon again.
You want
guys
Lord of the
probably know.
Rings to come back?
No, God, nobody wants Lord of the Rings to come back.
Or the Wheel of Time?
No. God, you guys, you're doing a bad job of guessing what I want to see. Why can't you read my mind? You talked about a TV show I'll talk about a TV show I've always been talking about, How To with John Wilson. It is the final season, which I just learned right before we got on the pod. I was reading some interviews with him from New York Times and Entertainment Weekly, I think. And he was talking about how he likes trilogies, and Jackass, he said Jackass only had 3 seasons, I'm only going to have 3 seasons, which I thought was a weird thing for him to compare himself to, but he's a street fellow. Yeah, so...
Yeah, I feel like it is fitting in a weird way.
He said he would like to make more things that nobody has ever seen before and focus on having people like see through his perspective, the world and stuff like that. So I'm not sure what he'll do next. He has written a book that is all of his favorite things he's ever seen on Craigslist. And then he's now writing a second book that is volume 2 of all of his favorite things he's seen on Craigslist. So also pretty on brand for John Wilson, I would say. I love the newest episode. I still want people to watch it. This 3rd season is going to be the final one, and I'm glad that I got, Jahan, it sounds like you're all caught up to the 3rd season. I just
started season 3. And season 2 was hilarious, dude. There was so many crazy things that happened in that season. From him buying the apartment.
Like, you could just text the entire time you're watching it. You could just be like, I can't believe he just did this. I can't believe he just did this. Like, this episode is nuts. Like, every single episode has just got you he's just wild nonstop. We're going to get 3 seasons. That's really the big news I wanted to share here. There's nothing new about the show that I can tell you that I haven't already told you. It's bizarre. It's funny. You should spend your time on this show. If you're going to spend your time anyway watching any TV show, watch How To with John Wilson. That's my pick for the year, and I think it was my pick for the last year, too. And this was the final season, so just do it. Just watch How To. All right. No more shows for me. I'm out of fresh picks for the week.
That leaves only one thing left. Hey, you guys watched Blue Beetle? I did, too. So, Blue Beetle...
With spoilers this time, right? We touched at the end of the last episode.
I think we generally talked about it last week and that we liked it, but we wanted to give it a fair shake, and now here's a little corner to do so. And I think since it's been out for a little over a week, we can say this is a spoiler discussion of Blue Beetle.
Absolutely.
So I didn't read Blue Beetle books. Did any of you guys read Blue Beetle?
Never read a comic with Blue Beetle in my life.
I saw some. I've read some, but it was a long time ago.
So really going into Blue Beetle, all I know is that it's, like an alien suit weapon thing. That's pretty much it. I don't know a lot about the background characters. I don't know the Uncle Ben of the story or the Clark Kent, Martha, and I don't know the Bruce Wayne background. I don't know any of the stuff about Blue Beetle going into this. So I don't know if they did it justice or if they did it right. I can't really speak to that, but I can say I loved the way that it was done. The family felt real. The music, the house, the TV, the grandma, everything felt pretty real. I guess actually I shouldn't have said the grandma. She was actually pretty horrible. She's probably my least favorite part of the movie. But other than that, I thought they did a great job with the family dynamic. And the movie, to me, it did what Shazam 2 was trying to do, where it was like, look, it's the whole family's involved, except you don't need to put everybody in spandex and put a yellow lightning bolt on their chest and give everybody capes. You can get the family involved in different ways and things that they're good at. Yeah. I thought Blue Beetle did a great job of making the family feel like the family was a character and the family was important to Jaime.
Yeah, it was really... They did a good job. He didn't okay, bye family, I'll see you when it's convenient. He kept getting called back to them constantly because he cares about his family. They did a good job of keeping it centered that way. And, obviously, spoiler alert, the whole thing with the dad having the heart attack, and like that whole thing, that was very heart wrenching. That was hard.
Yeah,
that was
man.
crazy, man.
For me, that hit like the first time that Uncle Ben dies. If if you don't know the Uncle Ben story, the first time Uncle Ben dies, it hits. And when his dad died, I was like, oh shit,
It was real, man. It got real, because like the whole show, like it's got some camp to it. It's got some humor to it. That part wasn't funny at all. It was hard. That they got really dark, and you need to do that in superhero stuff. It has to touch that line, otherwise it's not
have
real.
Those tones. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I think the refreshing thing about Blue Beetle, what y'all touched on, is that because his family is all present from the moment he discovers the beetle, the alien technology, the beetle, and they're there when he becomes Blue Beetle, there's never any having to hide, that he is Blue Beetle from his family or having a secret identity. Like, that's not really part of the equation at all. So it's nice that they are kind of along for the ride and even help out when he's in trouble. So I agree. I feel like that's what sets this one apart and was a really fun aspect of it. And even in the first Shazam movie, he's hiding it from most of his foster family. But at the end, they all become the Shazam family. And that's the stuff that really works in that movie. And then the second Shazam movie, he's Billy Batson and Shazam are kind of separated from his family for most of the time, and it's kind of like, why did you spend the time building this in the first movie and this is what worked, and then separating it in the second movie? So Blue Beetle really capitalizing on the family aspect of it, not in a Fast and Furious sense, but in a true knit family sense. I thought that was the most enjoyable thing about this one.
Yeah, Fast and the Furious is always like family, but it always is more like the family of outcasts, like I call my friends my family. But this one really felt like, family. It felt like familia. It felt like a Mexican family. It felt Latin inspired, the Latin roots. It was there, it didn't feel like some half-assed family of outcasts.
Yeah.
It did feel like a real family. They were very well cast. George Lopez, of course, and I'm not breaking any ground here, but what a standout performance. He was hilarious. I'm usually not a huge George Lopez fan. I get what he's about. He's funny.
He did a good job.
The character was great.
Some of my feedback on the Latino stuff is that they go a little far a couple times, and it gets a little pandering. I will say that. Like at one point, George Lopez is like, my frijoles. And it's like, my Mexican girlfriend was like rolling her eyes really, really hard.
What's even worse than that is he says like, oh shit, my frijoles. It's like, bro, you already cussed. Like, you wouldn't cuss and then censor yourself.
Yeah, it was very out of place. And it
same
was...
thing. Annie, my wife, also Mexican.
It feels like
rolled her eyes at that.
It feels like a white producer was like, but make it Spanish, though. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it felt like. At a couple points, it felt that way.
I think that's... That one in particular, I think that's what
that one's bad.
George Lopez improving on set. You might get him saying some stupid stuff, and the editor keeps the wrong one. But to me, that didn't seem like it was written. It seemed like George Lopez being stupid, and they kept a take of him being stupid.
Possibly.
Okay, so while we're on this topic, just I'll go ahead and point out kind of another nitpicky thing is you've got Jaime, and I looked up because this was distracting to me. Jaime's character, he's like a fresh out of college grad. He is young. Like, he is firmly, I think, listed in it as being around 22 years old. Like, that's firmly established. He's fresh out of college, and the actor is actually 22 years old in real life. So he's playing his age. His love interest in the movie, who works at this business, her name's Jenny. The character's name is Jenny Cord.
And she was almost 40 years old, like a 36 or 38-year-old professional businesswoman.
She seemed older, for sure.
So I did look up the actress. Her name's Bruna Marquezine. I'm probably saying that wrong. But she's 28 years old. So there's a 6-year age difference between them.
Not that bad.
Right. So I agree. That's not that bad when you see it. But in the sense of the story, you're like, she's working for this Cord, technology company, and she's high up in it because it's a family affair. But it seems like she's been in the business world for a lot longer than, 6 6 or 7 years as the age difference would have. It feels like she is almost 40 in the movie, the way with the experience her character has. Not that she looks 40, but it just like she just has like an aura of professionalism about her in it. So I was a little bit distracted by the, relationship formed between her and Jaime.
It seemed like an age gap.
You're right.
Obviously isn't. We now know that, right? We've done our research. But yeah, watching the movie the first time, it does seem like there's like a 10-year age gap between them for some reason.
Right. So that was the only thing that I wanted to point out there.
I mean, I noticed that there was a little discrepancy with that as well. But like, I mean, it happens.
Well, also, if we're going to talk about the maturity level of a 22-year-old male versus a 28-year-old female, there probably is a 10-year discrepancy between the maturity level of the two.
Yeah, but usually in the other way. usually the females, the more, they mature quicker. So.
Yeah, she's the more professional of the two, exactly.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, when you couple that with the fact that she's also older, like, it makes it, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. It makes sense. It seems like he's 22. Seems like he's about 18, and she's 28.
Oh, you're saying it made 28. It feel like more of a gap. I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, it made it feel like a 10-year gap, and he does feel 18ish, and she feels 30ish, and he's 22 and she's 28. So I guess those things are true, but it particularly feels that way in the movie. Yeah. Not to get hung up on that too long.
Yeah, but all the stuff with the cords, that was all cool. That's all real. That's all like real stuff that happens in the comics and stuff. And there's the original Blue Beetle, and then the one that couldn't use a scarab, and all the
plus we had
gadgets.
Guillermo. We had Guillermo as Sanchez. That
was good stuff. Yeah, I enjoyed the movie. It gets there. We touched on all the family stuff. All that stuff was cool.
I thought that the red version that they created looked really stupid. I hated his stupid shoulder pads. They were super Gundam-y.
The big pointy shoulders.
He was very Gundam-y, but I liked that he was Gundam-y.
I hated it.
Maybe I shouldn't have, honestly, but yeah, I did like that it was Gundam-y.
Watching it in action, it looked like a Gundam, right? Like you could have just like put a small town around him and had him fighting another Gundam. So they're there, I think they could probably make a good live action Gundam movie. I just don't like that he looked like a Gundam.
That's fair.
But I think that you could probably make a good Gundam movie finally. That was proof of that. He looked like a good he looked real moving around.
Yeah,
I thought the Blue Beetle suit looked cool. I thought all the Blue Beetle weapons were pretty cool.
They used a practical suit, I guess, for most of the movie, and I thought that showed. I thought the suit looked really good too.
Really good.
And I think kind of talking about the suit and the powers is like, I think one of the few things that holds this movie back is, it was nice to see an origin movie. Honestly, there was a point where there were too many comic book origin movies, and it was overwhelming. I didn't need another origin story. Now I feel like we haven't seen one in a while until this. So I liked seeing an origin story, but I feel like also the fact that it was an origin story is what held it back. Like when he first gets the suit and he's learning it and starts to learn the powers, like I just kind of wanted to see the suit and the power set in action, like really see it in action effectively. And you get some of it here and there, but then it does kind of the tropes of these kinds of movies, where he gets captured by the bad guy and he's out of action for a while, and you're like, I just want to see Blue Beetle fighting some stuff. And maybe that's a little bit basic, but I couldn't help but feel that way in the movie, and that's just part of what comes with an origin movie, right? It's like sometimes the origin aspect of it is what holds it back too.
He did the one thing that I wanted him to do really bad, which is my favorite thing Blue Beetle does, is when he gets like the long hands and they shoot like giant staples out of them and like
I like
put
that.
people. I love it when he does that in the cartoons, and so like I was really happy he actually did that.
I just looked it up so we could talk about it during this conversation. I've been curious if Zolo did his own stunts. He does all of his own karate and stuff, in 95% of it in Cobra Kai. So I was curious if he did his own stunts in this movie, and he did not. He said he was more than happy to step aside and let his stunt double do what they do professionally. Let the professionals handle it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep, I was surprised. I thought he was going to be a do-my-own-stunts kind of guy, but, I mean, if I was an actor and I had a choice, let's be honest, I would be in the trailer smoking a bowl while somebody else broke their fucking legs.
Yeah. And they want to be out there breaking their legs. That's how they get paid, yeah. So
Yeah, that's literally like
you're creating jobs.
That's, that's what he wants to go do. So yeah, I'll go to the trailer and let him do his thing, I guess.
Yeah, but so I mean, I guess final thoughts, like the movie was good. It ended fine. It kind of had like a hokey ending in my opinion, but overall I like the movie, and I really do hope they keep this around in the greater DCU that they're building. I feel like
Blue Beetle ship tank looked awesome.
It did when it was walking around. Yeah, oh man, I wasn't expecting that. Man.
I loved that. That was a cool vehicle.
It was.
I'm all about a cool vehicle, and that giant Blue Beetle ship was dope as hell.
It reminded me of the Batman climber from Justice League, but like 1,000 times cooler.
The only thing I asked myself about this movie, not the only thing, the most important thing, and I asked you guys last week, is would you want to see more Zolo Maridueña as Jaime Reyes, as Blue Beetle? Would you like that character to stick around in the DC verse?
10,000%.
Yes, my answer to that is yes. I think that he fits that sort of Spider-Man personality to me, the sort of young kid, the sort of, he's not too much of a smartass, but he does say he's pretty sharp. Yeah, I think he fits in perfectly. I think he's a great actor. I think it's a great hero. The movie was fun to watch. I could probably watch it again. I don't know if I could watch it again and again and again, but I could probably watch Blue Beetle a second time and still find some enjoyment out of it.
It's one of the only new DC movies I could watch again.
Man, I tried watching Flash the other day. Flash came out on Max or something, and oh my god, it is... Oh, I can't watch it, guys. It's so bad.
I told you,
it's so bad. Oh my god, I would have walked out of that theater. I got to the part where he starts time traveling to try to save his parents, and he gets shoved out of the portal for the first time. And I was just like, nope, this is going to be so boring and so bad and so convoluted and so stupid. I do think Blue Beetle definitely shines.
It's easily the best DC movie of the year, which is like not the highest bar, but and I'm with you that I would like to see a sequel of this. So if they could incorporate this into the future, we'll see. It's a tough space for DC right now, and it's so uncertain, which is definitely... You kind of walk out of that movie going like, well, that was pretty cool, but, is that it? And that's a shame that there's so much uncertainty around it.
Sometimes it's easier to start over than it is to fix the universe you've dug yourself into. But Blue Beetle is pretty standalone other than that it mentions, like, Superman and Batman. And that's it. It just mentions them. It
George Lopez calling Batman a fascist is pretty funny.
It doesn't establish, like, that they're nearby or that they've met or any of that. It just says they exist. So I think that Blue Beetle doesn't have to be scrapped. It doesn't have to be completely scrapped at all. You can build with it. You can move forward with it. There's nothing you have to rewrite about Blue Beetle to keep it in the DC verse.
James Gunn, if you're listening, please give us Young Justice. Please. It's right up your alley. You can use Lagoon Boy. You would love Lagoon Boy, James Gunn. He calls people chums because he's nautical themed. It's so stupid. Please bring it. Bring it.
It's also worth noting that this was supposed to be a straight to HBO Max or Max straight to Max movie, and they released it in theaters, which was absolutely the right call. I'm glad I got to see this in theaters on a big screen because I really enjoyed the experience. That was definitely the right move for this one.
I liked it a lot. I've been seeing a lot more movies lately just because I've been able to kind of have the time and afford it and stuff. And this was one of the better ones that I've seen lately. And I liked it.
Jahan, did you know Lagoon Boy's real name is Lagan?
Yeah, his name's Lagan. Yeah, he's an Atlantean. They call him Lagoon Boy. Yeah, oh man. I forgot his name was Lagan, but yeah, I do recall that.
That is good and stupid.
Yeah, when he's dating Miss Martian, he calls her Angelfish. It's the whole thing.
I think we can go out on that.
We go out on that. Yeah, thanks for listening. My name's Lagan. Thanks for listening to Fresh Out the Podcast. I have been the board game guru and game master extraordinaire, Jahananan.
Thank you for listening to Fresh Out the Podcast. I have been Miss Martian. It's been nice to be here. Tell your dog to listen to this podcast while you're going at work. Tell your dog to tell his friends, and tell those dogs' friends to tell the cats that they know. That way all the cool cats will be listening to Fresh Out the Podcast.
What's a Young Justice character I should tell people that I am? Is that the
Tigress.
joke?
Yeah, there you go.
Sure, why not? You know what, Tigress?
Your dad's sports master.
You can find me at Drew Munhausen on Twitter. Even though I'm Tigress, it's at Drew Munhausen out there on the socials and on Letterboxd. And yeah, thank you for listening to episode 101 of Fresh Out the Podcast.
Stay fresh.